So because of the endless customers journey, we've been able to really reduce our cost of getting customers on board and reduce the friction we have with our customers and prospects to the point that even customers that go through the entire process with us and choose not to use us still give us five-star reviews on the review sites.
You're listening to the Endless Customers Podcast, brought to you by the team at Impact. Endless Customers is the proven system to become the most known and trusted brand in your market. If you want to start to learn the principles of Endless Customers and how you can implement them in your business, pick up a copy of Endless Customers, a national bestseller wherever books are sold. Ready to start implementing Endless Customers in your business? Talk to Impact about how our coaching program can help you implement Endless Customers to success. And if you want to experience Endless Customers in person, do not miss our upcoming conference, Endless Customers Live, in Chicago, March 30th through April 1st, 2026. Registration is now open. And now, onto the show. Here's your host, Alex Winter.
Complexity often clouds trust. Buyers want to understand what they're getting, what it costs, and whether a solution will truly fit their business. But in an industry where pricing is rarely discussed openly and competitors guard their processes behind closed doors, transparency can feel almost radical. Today, we're talking with a team that decided to change that. I'm joined by Richard Sellar, CEO of Stellar One, and their impact coach, Allison Belles. Stellar One has embraced the endless customers mindset by putting education and transparency front and center, including publishing exact pricing for a complex product on their website. They're selling differently than anyone else in the market and proving that clarity builds trust and drives growth. In this episode, we'll talk about what led them to take such a bold approach, how buyers have responded, and how they're using content through the sales process. And we're also going to talk about what results they've seen from leading with honesty and trust. Richard, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. And we also have your coach here, Allison. How's it going, Allison?
It's going great, Alex. Glad to be here too.
Great to have you both here on the show. We have a lot to talk about today, but before we get started and we get into the meat and potatoes of our conversation, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what Stellar One does?
Yeah, Stellar One is a ERP systems provider. So what we do is we help companies that are coming off of QuickBooks or NetSuite or something like that, implement a new ERP system that will help their business grow and expand.
Okay. And for me, sorry for the noob question, what does ERP mean?
ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. So it's bigger than accounting.
Okay.
It runs the complete organization.
So I have a note here that says that the way that you were traditionally selling ERP software wasn't working. Can you walk people through like what that was like trying to sell the software and why it wasn't working and when you realized that like you needed to make a change?
Yeah, there were a couple of things, but the interesting thing is it's a complex product, right? Think of it like software that's touching every aspect of your business. So trying to help people understand the product was a difficult process, and pricing was difficult, and the traditional sales process was a long drawn out thing that could take 6 to 9 months. Well, that's crazy for a sales process, especially when you're losing value every day. These customers have pain that they're trying to solve, and it's taking them 6 to 9 months just to get started, and then another 6 to 12 months after that to implement. It was a bit nuts. So the challenge that we were having is how do we simplify this down for people and really get them educated on what we're doing before they walk into that first call, and then stop spending so much time going through this huge amount of discovery just to finally get to the point where we say, oh yeah, now we can give you a price 6 months later.
Yeah. Yeah. So really trying to shorten that sales cycle and provide some education to build trust faster and just close deals faster, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for your sales team, what was that like for them as far as like what they were doing originally? You were saying 6 to 9 months, which is a long time, especially for people that want results, want things to happen, are trying to make moves. What was that like for them trying to sell, and how did they all get into the mix of going like, yeah, we do need to make a change, and acknowledging the fact that like the cycle had to shorten?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting because we no longer have a sales team.
Wow.
We changed the way that we work with prospects. And instead of engaging with a salesperson who isn't an expert on the software, is just there to guide the buyer through their journey, we now engage right with the people who are the experts in the delivery team. So if you equate it to like a home improvement contractor, you're not talking to the salesperson anymore. You're talking to the actual installers and the actual people doing the work to get your questions answered. So um, we've really changed the way we go to market just because that sales process was so complicated and because buyers have so much more information at their fingertips now. Our competitors provide a lot more. We provide a lot more information. So we don't need that salesperson involved anymore like they used to be.
Wow, that's fascinating to me that you basically eradicated your sales team because you figured out how to go direct. You can like leapfrog over this process that was taking way too long, it sounds like. So I guess the next question or follow-up question is, how did you figure that out? Like, how did you hear about endless customers, or like, where did this knowledge or this like light bulb moment come into play? And then obviously, how did like you meet Allison? I want to hear that story. How did all that happen?
Yeah, so we started off actually before endless customers with They Ask You Answer, and
Okay.
this whole idea of producing educational content fit right in with our mindset of not having a sales team because that's all they were doing anyway was producing educational content or trying to educate the customer, but they weren't doing it themselves. They were bringing in our experts, our pre-sales team and our consulting team anyway. So instead of having this middleman that wasn't providing a lot of value in the sales process or the buyer's journey, we found They Ask You Answer. We read Marcus Sheridan's book, got very excited about it, and started producing that content to educate people so that they didn't have to talk to the salesperson. And then that kind of evolved, and we decided, okay, this is great. We're off on this journey, but how do we structure this and keep making improvements? So we found Impact and reached out and became a customer a little over a year ago now, and are very excited about the whole journey.
That's amazing to hear. And I like that you use the word journey because it is a journey. Endless customers is a journey. It's an evolution for your business. I want to go to Allison for a second. Allison, what was it like meeting Richard and his team and starting the whole coaching journey with Stellar One?
Yeah. Well, I mean, with every client who comes on board, it is just so refreshing when folks like Richard want to not only create content to educate the buyers, but Richard's really been on a mission to create some industry disrupting content
Yes.
to kind of blow the curtain back and show what it really looks like for customers to bring on an ERP and the type of partners that they should be working with. And so I think that's been probably the coolest thing to see working with Stellar One is their openness in so many ways to talk about the topics that typically have been kind of guarded and held back. And so seeing what that means in their sales process and how people are appreciating the transparency and just the ability to educate throughout that whole process has been really, really amazing. And I've appreciated, even though Richard and I have gone back and forth and laughed about it, not having a sales team is an interesting approach, right? And so the way that we've really evolved that for Stellar One is we lean into what they're calling assignment onboarding. And so what they're doing is they're creating onboarding specialists who are using content throughout that process to help guide people into a migration and really into a full implementation that they're doing somewhat on their own because they're being so well educated through the whole entire process.
Wow. So it's almost evolved from assignment selling into assignment onboarding. Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And in a different way of course, you can use when onboarding and like the recruiting and hiring side is a big component, and 100% you can use content written in video throughout that process. But when we're
Mhm.
talking about onboarding clients through an implementation has been an absolute game changer. And I'm looking forward to other organizations taking on this type of approach so that people really can feel as though they're making the best decision for themselves and really kind of teaching them to fish type of model.
Wow. Very cool. So Richard, I have a question for you, right? So hearing this, it sounds like ERP, you had mentioned that it can be technical. It's hard to understand and digest. There's layers to it. How did you create disruptive content, and how did you start to create content that like answer pricing and answer people's questions to create this assignment onboarding, as you're calling it?
Yeah, there's some fun myths in our industry. One is that we can't determine pricing until we know all of the customer's requirements.
Okay.
Well, the funny thing is the accuracy of pricing in our industry is notoriously horrendous, even after going through this long process. Like there have been numerous articles in the past about people going over budget and over timeline and how bad ERP implementations are and how they always fail and how they're never scoped correctly and they're never priced correctly.
Hmm.
And so with that in mind, like, okay, so why are we spending so much time hiding the price and trying to get to a price that's not accurate in the first place? So instead of focusing all this energy on this upfront process that doesn't produce a good outcome, we changed our mindset and defined a repeatable process that we could take our customers and our prospects through to get them live and focused on the right outcomes and really scope things correctly because they don't know the answers to all these questions, right? If you ask a homeowner, hey, what kind of windows do you need? They're not going to know. You're there
Right.
to guide them and show them. And instead of giving them in the ERP world, literally hundreds and hundreds of choices, we give them choices that work together. And we say, okay, great. For your type of industry, this is what it looks like. And here are some options, but not everything is a blank sheet of paper. And our industry has traditionally just been a blank sheet of paper. So we've taken all that complexity off the table. And yeah, there's every single implementation is going to go differently, just like any other business, right? Some customers are more needy than others. Some just get it and can ramp up very quickly. So instead of trying to price each one uniquely, we know there's variability. And we say, okay, so we made more money on some than others, and the price is the price. And
Yeah.
it's just a lot easier for everybody involved to get to that point where we say, yes, let's commit to this and go.
Absolutely. Well, and it sounds like too, when we talk about endless customers and the buyer's journey, so for your customers, building trust is the most important thing. And I don't think there's a better way to build trust than to say like, hey, this is super complex and the industry sucks. And guess what? We're just going to give it to you straight and try to be as much of a partner to help you make a good decision as possible.
Right. And for us, it's as much about disqualifying people as qualifying and
Right.
telling people, that's great. I understand your problem. You're just not a good fit for what we do. And that will save all of us more time and energy than anything else that we do. It's getting people to understand what constitutes a good customer for us. And you may still be a really good fit for the software we sell, and we tell people that, but not for us, not the way we do business. If you don't appreciate and really understand what it is we're providing to you, then yeah, there's probably a better partner out there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. So it's got me thinking now, like, what type of content specifically did you create and how did that shift the way that you got responses from your buyers? You know, so like maybe you can give us some examples or if you have some stories to share, but I'm just curious. And Allison, this one's for you too. I'm curious just to see like what you implemented and how it shifted the whole game for you.
Well, for us, part of it was shifting our internal mindset. So we created fit quizzes. One was just an ERP readiness quiz.
Okay.
A lot of people come to they search for what do I do after I outgrow QuickBooks? They don't know that ERP is the next step. And so we've created some content around helping them assess whether or not they're even ready for this because some people just need a little bit of help in the QuickBooks world and aren't ready to move on beyond that. But other people are bursting at the seams and need something more robust. So
Hmm.
helping them first decide if this is the right technology. And then after that, we have a fit quiz for us, for Stellar One, to say, are you the right customer for us? Do you operate in certain industries that we don't serve? If you do, let us refer you to somebody else. And by the way, here's an article on the top 10 providers in our industry, and here's a really good one that does construction because we don't do construction. Go see them.
I love that. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, because it helps us. So it puts us in a better position, puts them in a better position too. So the other thing that's really interesting to me, and we just had this situation happen last week where people in our ecosystem are so afraid of just addressing what the customer needs at the point in time where the prospect needs at the point in time when they come to us. So if you think about it, there's a curve that's been around, gosh, since I started understanding sales in the early 2000s, there's this curve that shows price and needs and solution and risk. And at the very beginning of the process, what people need is they need to know that their needs are going to be met and they need to know what the price is. And then price becomes unimportant till the end of the process. And their needs ramp up the needs, and then the solution comes right behind that. So
Hmm.
the educational content's really focused around their needs. What kinds of, are you having problems controlling your inventory? Are you having problems with back orders? Are you having problems with, financial reporting? Those are the things that customers come searching for. They don't come searching for, how do I buy an ERP system? So
Right.
it's really focused on those needs that they have as a business at the front end and providing a price. And even though we've got a very accurate price that we stick to in our industry, you don't have to, right? A range is fine for most people, but they need something. And we had a company come to us last week. They had talked to two other partners already. They could not get a demo of the software to see if it met their needs, and they could not get a price. And they were very frustrated. And they were about to throw our publisher right out the door and just go to a different system. And so they came over to us. We had a we scheduled a 15-minute call with them. We addressed their needs. We gave them a price. And the comment we got back was, wow, you're the first people we've talked to that are actually reasonable people.
Wow. Wow.
Reasonable, not even just we're just being reasonable. We're just meeting them where they need to be. And it's kind of amazing to me that other companies don't do that.
Yeah. No, so I work on the marketing team here at Impact, and we work with a lot of software as a service companies, and we work with a lot of AI tech companies and things like that for tools that we use on a daily basis. And I was recently on a call. We're trying to work on updating our slide decks, and it was an AI company with slide decks, and we sat on a 40-minute presentation, and it was like Ferris Bueller's Day Off with, with a Bueller. He just kept going, no questions, no stopping, no pricing. It was one of the worst meetings I've ever been in my life. And it was super frustrating, and it has completely turned me off from wanting to even talk to other companies. So I can relate to your story, because I think a lot of people out there feel that. And we just want to have a reasonable conversation with somebody and get a sense of what's up so we can make a better decision.
Right.
Yeah.
And the way the software as a service market started, and that's the area that we're in as well, when it first started, there was always pricing on the website. Hey, here's package one, two, and three, and here's your price for those.
Yeah.
And we've gone away from that, and our industry has never really embraced that.
Yep.
Why? Why is this so hard? So anytime I go to a website for software as a service, if I don't see a price, I disqualify the company right there.
Yeah. Me
Because
too.
the thing that's interesting, the thing I would tell everybody in our industry, any industry, is you're supposed to be the expert. The prospect is talking to you because they've done all the research they can. They're coming to you to get certain questions answered. And if you can't show your expertise in that moment, you've lost them
Yeah.
because you've proven that you're not the expert. You have no authority anymore.
Yeah. Well said. You clearly, as the leader of this company, have the right mindset and are an endless customers advocate here. So, Allison, for you as a coach, what was it like working with Richard, and how did that like trickle down into the rest of the organization, working with like their content manager, the marketing team? Like, what was that like for you, and helping them start to position these pieces of content, these articles, and these other pieces to really meet their customers where they needed to meet them?
Yeah, well, I think the first part of it is working with Richard's team. It's just refreshing. I've said that before, but the fact that even their teams are willing and open to be incredibly transparent
Yeah.
and to not only use content, but they're always pushing the envelope to create better content that digs a little bit deeper, right? And so if they're like, hey, it's too surface level, we need to get it a little bit more into the nitty gritty, their team is willing to do it. I'll also say I've never had a team embrace change as much as I've seen the Sellar One team do. And I think that comes from Richard's leadership. But when we talked about one-to-one video, I mean, their team was like, okay, we're on it. We got it. What tool do we use? How do we do it? Teach me how. And they started using it right away, right out of the box. The other thing that the leadership team does that's been really impressive too is they created a series of videos. So when we told Richard and his team to embrace video, to lean into a video first mentality, they didn't just have meetings and talk about endless customers. They're sending a series of endless customers videos to their whole entire team, and not just about endless customers and the principles and the four pillars of trust, but how specifically they're implementing it within Sellar One. So not only can their team see the concept, but how is it working for them internally and externally with their new members who are coming on board. And so it's been really great to have a team not only do the things, but to challenge themselves on how they can continue to do them better, how they can get all of their teams involved, from not only just that onboarding team, but even into the implementation itself. And folks just digging into how do we educate folks more? How do we build that trust, build those relationships? And that's just been an amazing thing to watch from the outside, right? Is to not get as much pushback as sometimes we typically do with sales teams. And so I think it's built relationships for them that have been long lasting, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point you bring up, but I think it's something we see time and time again. People who have the most success with endless customers that really dig into the journey are the ones that are fully bought in from the top down. And Stellar One is a perfect example of that. And Richard, you've definitely been leading the charge there. And I'm curious, we've been hearing about the shifts that you've made. What are some of the results that you've been getting? So before you started implementing to after within the last year or so on your journey, what results have you been seeing and how has it affected your business?
Yeah, the I would say my biggest success metric is there are a couple of ways to look at it, but it's really how well are we closing deals. So it could be, customer acquisition cost, or it could be, percentage of deals won. They all come back to the same thing, and it's how easy are we making it for people to buy from us. And we've seen typical close rates in our industry around 20%. So if you've got five sales qualified leads that come in, you're getting one out of those five typically. Our close rates are about 60% right now, which is three out of five, which is amazing for our industry. And it's because of the fact that we're taking the mystery out of this for people. They appreciate the transparency and the honesty, and it just creates a different working relationship from the outset. It's not this, well, the sales guy said this, and now you're telling me this. Everybody's on the same page. That makes a huge difference. One of the things that our approach does is we don't spend a lot of time with people who in our industry are called kicking the tires, right? They're out there just looking around. They want to talk to somebody because they just want to talk to somebody, right? They're not near ready to buy yet. And because we've shifted from actually selling to them to forget the sales process, we're going to give you all the education you need when you're ready to go through this journey and implement the software, which is not a minor undertaking. Then we start the relationship. And we have to provide enough content so people are ready to do that. And that's a lot of content. And there are a lot of questions people have. And the other thing that we're about to do, Allie, you probably don't even know this yet, but we're about to start not only giving that away for free to our prospects because we do a lot of educational content, but having this support tool, this artificial intelligence based support tool that anybody can use, even customers of other partners can come in and chat with this tool and get the answers they need to very specific technical questions. So just unlocking that for the world, because we've got all this great knowledge in our heads that we've been hoarding for years, and now we're going to release that into the wild for people.
That's very cool. Allison, what's your reaction hearing that for the first time?
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. I mean, this is really when you talk about embracing, leaning into transparency and really wanting to be that trusted voice in your space. That's exactly what the Seller One team is doing. They want people to rely on them for the education, for the information that they need, whether they work with them or their partners or not. Right. And I think that is just such an amazing thing to see in this very muddied market that we're living in now in every industry, right? Is there's just so much out there. That blue ocean strategy that we've heard from in the past, it's gone, right? It's all red water pretty much at this point. And so to bring that mentality of we're here to educate people. We don't even care if they work with us because we believe in this so much is just a really, really cool thing to see and to be a part of. And so kudos, Richard, to you and the team, because that's absolutely amazing.
Absolutely
I have
amazing.
the easy part. I just say, hey, let's go do this.
I love it. So, Richard, I have a question here about accountability. And I think this is something that comes up a lot when people are thinking about getting on the endless customers journey, because we keep calling it a journey. And I use this word because it isn't like a thing you implement and tomorrow it works, or in a week from now, you're just like instantly seeing results. It takes effort. It takes time. It takes learning. From an accountability standpoint, what was the value for you in working with a coach, and why did you want to work with a coach like Allison to help implement this?
Yeah, there are a couple of sides to that. One is we're not the experts in this, right? We have all this great content. We have all this knowledge about what we do. We are not the endless customers experts. And just like we tell our prospects, hey, trust us, rely on us because we're going to guide you on this journey. That's what we need a coach for, right? That objective third party that says, hey, you're doing this well, and you're not really doing this well over here.
Right.
Because we get jaded sometimes. We're heads down and we say, oh yeah, we're doing awesome, and we're really not because we've forgotten about five things we should be doing. The other interesting side of that coin, it just reared its head when we did our quarterly business planning, and it in a good way is the further we get on this journey, the harder we are on ourselves. Our standard keeps going up, so we keep grading ourselves about the same every time, not realizing the progress we've made. And it's always nice to have that person say, no, you really have gone from, in the last 3 months, you've gone from here to here. And we don't always see that. So it's great having somebody that's sitting back and saying, no, you've done a lot. Look at all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a valid point. I think I'm the same way. I think we're most critical of ourselves. So I always grade myself lower than maybe someone who is objectively watching from the outside can look at it and see it a little bit differently and really see the progress you've made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to know that we've taken on more. We always expect we're going to expand what we're doing. And it just becomes normal, right? That, okay, it's just what we do instead of,
Right.
oh yeah, it's all this extra stuff we're doing now that we didn't do before
Yeah.
that we needed to be doing.
How about the events? Have you been and attended an Endless Customers event before? You,
Yeah, just
yeah.
went in the fall to Hartford. It was awesome.
Excellent, excellent. I saw you there, and it was a great event for sure. And we do two every year, one in Chicago in the spring and one in Hartford in the fall.
Yeah.
Little self shameless plug here. I have to do it, but I'm
Fine.
curious, why did you go, and will you be coming back? Like, what's the value in going to the events for you?
Well, the first time I had my arm twisted, and it
That's
was
fair. I
good.
like the
That's
That's
honesty.
right.
okay. Yeah.
That's
I,
right.
I knew I needed to go. It was my responsibility to go, but we had three people. We had myself, our content manager, and our videographer there. We will have probably 5 or 6 people in Chicago.
Wow. And
We're
why
going to
why is
double in
that?
crew
Yeah. Why are
for
you
that.
doubling the crew?
There, I felt like we got so much out of it that there are other people that would benefit from being there besides just me and the videographer and content manager because they're leaders in different areas of the organization that will hear things differently at that event and be able to apply things in a way that I hadn't thought of. So it's or the content manager or the videographer because we know what we know, we don't know what they know. So we're going to probably double the size of our team.
Wow, that's exciting. Well, I can't wait to see you in Chicago. Last question for you here. What
Yep.
would you say to people out there that are listening to this conversation and they want to get on the journey? They want to implement Endless Customers, but they're not sure where to start or what to do next. As the CEO of Stellar One, what advice would you give them?
Don't wait. Go to the Impact site today, sign up, and get moving because you can't get better until you start.
Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. Awesome. Well, Richard, thank you so much for sharing your story and for taking the time to be on the show today. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I had a great time and I love the journey that we're on with you guys. You've made a huge impact on our business. So thank you.
Thank you as well. And Allison, thank you for joining and shedding some insight. We really appreciate having you on the show too.
Of course. Always glad to be here.
All right. Awesome. Well, for everybody there watching and listening, this is Endless Customers. I'm your host, Alex, and we will see you on the next episode.